Okay, hello. Nice to see a lot of colleagues, lawyers. I think. I hope there will be more developers. So my speech built a little bit around like explaining what AI and how it's regulated in game developers' language sometimes. So just to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Yaraslau Kot. I'm a person of two worlds. I'm game development since 1996. I've worked for a lot of world-renowned companies, owned my own game dev studios and so on. And also I have been partner of law firm at the same time and was doing game teaching at law faculty for over 20 years and so on. So I'm a person of two worlds, and that gives me some understanding of some things and gives me some edge. That's why I work at Rymarz Zdort Maruta as Counsel, which means I don't want to do a lot of work, but I still want to be a lawyer. Some things for lawyers would be interesting to see perspective of game developers, where game developers actually use AI. It's a chapter I wrote with Benjamin Hanusek in Austrian book, Money, Games, Economies. There's a chapter on AI and what it means, and also a little bit of economic perspective. People would understand, lawyers would understand more of how game developers see it, because sometimes we lack perspective of game developers lack sometimes perspective of lawyers, which is nice, that people need each other. It's always nice for a lawyer. Yep. First thing which you will not find in that article, but which I wanted to explain to some game developers present and others, that main thing about AI, we need to understand what's the essence of regulation of it, why it is there, why it moves on actually. That first there were some concerns about AI. And main idea of, as my colleague probably discusses there in the back, that main idea of regulation is not to make it difficult, is to protect. There were some concerns. We cannot stop AI. Nobody wants to control it. People just want to understand it, because AI is a sub-product of digitalized society. It's just like the weather, like global warming. You can affect it to some extent. You can control it, but no more than you can control the weather. We still have floods. We still have everything. And with digitalized world, having a big part of uncontrolled, like digital dimension is a big part of our lives, and AI gets developed without anyone wants it, anyone's regulation, whether we want it or not. This is regulation is just an attempt to lower risks, because in some areas risks are high, like human lives, for example, and because of that, some researchers and some thinkers, some specialists in AI developed some. It's not the only one, but it's like the most the closest code of principles, the closest to the one which was actually was used to shape the legislation in Europe. And maybe not many, as well, lawyers. I asked, not many lawyers know about it. Asilomar AI principles, which were formed actually in 2017, and they laid down the foundation of regulation. And they split. You see, there's nothing about about controlling AI. They only research issues to understand it better, to get to understand its dangers better, to join effort of ethics, values, and long term. Actually, we can see. Oh, it's black and white here. Okay. We can actually see that main goals were the research goal, to join the resources to learn better and understand and progress quicker AI, because it was recognized as a tool. Research funding, so the funding would not go around and hidden, to create scientific policies from different countries, to create research culture, because research could be underground research, could lack principles, and the same as we heard, like in many other countries, in many areas, like in medicine as well. But AI could affect industry globally. This is why research culture is important there in AI as well. Race avoidance. It's about competitiveness. when companies researching AI and moving their own AI projects farther, they start cutting corners to make they would sacrifice principles. They would sacrifice safety just to be first on the market. This is why it should have been stopped being a commercial race, because sometimes it unfortunately happens. And we've seen it with COVID, when some vaccines without being tested actually were dropped on the market because some companies wanted to be first there. Also, so safety, to have monitor system about safety, failure, transparency, everything. When everything is transparent, you can see and learn from someone else's mistakes as well, without someone doing the same mistakes several times. And with transparencies, there's no need for secret and corporate secret. It's all joint venture. Judicial transparency, so learning from these mistakes. A legal system would be also understandable, because a lot of cases, and around AI as well, they're sometimes ridiculous in some country, because countries' judicial system doesn't understand what that is, and they don't hear about other cases. And having it mobilized somehow, it actually helps for all the legal system to hear, to understand, to be at least instructed by researchers, fellow lawyers, and so on about it, and to easier find information. Responsibility. The problem is that where mistake or danger to someone's life or life's fate, so to say, like fate, when we call about HR, it's someone's destiny there at stake. Responsibility for mistaken like diagnosis or anything has to be on someone. And the human being is the measure of everything in legal system as well. And this why there always should be a person responsible for results of AI's work, especially where there's danger. This is why it was banned to use AI in medical industry without a person being responsible. It could be actually used, even though it legally was almost banned, but there has to be a human being at the beginning, at the end of the process. So between the affecting other people and a result, there would be also someone, a person, a doctor, who would take his own responsibility and put his own career name at stake of this result. Because otherwise, people could be just banned from certain job, discriminated against, and HRs would say, it's because AI filtered you out. How many people heard it? And in the game industry, it's a normal. It was a big pain. So because just the word was different, word meaning like a talented artist or something. And that already was a discrimination and result of AI working. And there should be a person responsible at all times. Value alignment, people change, values change, we understand more, and that has to affect, and human values especially. Because actually AI, everyone knows AI lies. AI lies. A lot of people from many years ago, they thought that AI would be like a baby, like this innocent creature which we have to teach everything. But no, AI actually lies. And AI would sacrifice, if we would give it freedom, would sacrifice everything for effectiveness, not understanding a lot of other values which we don't even know how to measure. Also, personal privacy. It already previous speaker mentioned personal privacy with sensitive data, which protected separately, and liberty, privacy. A lot of other moments. Okay, as I don't have time to go through every one of them, but just see how many principles are there. So these are all were integrated in new AI Act of European Union. But unfortunately, not all countries implemented it. So first, there was like a notion to develop AI Act in 2021, and then AI Act actually went into the force with all the amendments and everything. And those only 2 steps. Later, I will, at the end, at last minute probably, I will scroll through how many more steps we'll be taking. It's not the end of regulation which we've gotten there. It will be a dynamic limitation and dynamic thing. But there are problems in a lot of countries. For example, in UK, European Union regulation doesn't work. It's not part of European Union, and they decided if your AI Act rules it top-down. In UK, they rule it from the bottom up. They decided to split responsibility among a lot of different institutions, just like ICO, CMA, FSA, and health and safety executives, human rights commission, and so on. And they all have to work and implement it. But that left a lot of problems. They still have a lot of problems with copyright and ownership, with open source software, personal data, ethics, and accountability, and other issues which we just discussed before. They still have it because in their legal system, they will have to implement it case by case, unfortunately. And the principles are difficult to implement, but this process will take longer. But at the end, it might also be something European Union will learn from, because even though this legislation will be much bigger because it would be case-based, there would be more philosophy because in United Kingdom, the legal philosophical thinkers and Lord Justices discussions also a source of constitutional law and of legal philosophy, which is used to build on. So maybe they will invent something interesting, looking from case by case, which globally tried to set up unified rules in European Union. People did notice. Also, there is a question with United States, which we will discuss later. Basically, what was created by AI, what we need to consider as game developers, we need to understand that there are companies with an acceptable risk, high risk, limited risk, minimal risk. It all measured most of companies which consider projects which consider to be with unacceptable risk. Definition is all over there. You can check it out. But basically, those are which fall under the prohibitions. So we see behavioral manipulation, we see all those emotional recognition, biometric categorization, basically what they do in China, scanning biometrics of all the cameras which are used, cannot be used in Europe. But there are exceptions, of course. If they search for someone, they can turn it on just for a certain amount of time, just to find someone who they're looking for and switch it off. Yes, as if it should look and work as we hope it would. There are a lot of other limitations. And of course, as we mentioned before, in medicine, for example, they practically banned it. They allowed it only for research purposes, but in medicine, actually AI was used greatly and was used as well to develop the vaccine for COVID. And the problem that we should know, and especially game developers should know, that there are penalties for non-compliance, which are big, and the bigger companies, the bigger is the penalty. These penalties are huge and can actually bring company to its brink. Like some companies, if they would get these penalties, they probably would be forced to have a big changes, or sometimes they could switch the ownership. I can see the game developers already taking pictures. Yes, it's important. Yes, this is what the slide was made for. Of course, there are high-risk AI systems, general-purpose AI systems, limited AI, risk AI systems, which is not very actually discussed classification, and minimal risk. The thing is that often when we discuss AI, usually AI Act specifies that it puts on us obligation, following obligation, and it looks like only 4 points, but it's actually illusion that it's only 4 points. Legally, it's determined that we only should identify your risks, AI risk, and somehow reply them, notify about them, like sometimes report them to certain systems. We should adopt appropriate changes. I will show like the system of it. It's also iterative because the changes always would have to be applied, and it's a very game dev industry system of applying, because you always will have to apply them, check them, apply them again and check. It's the same iterative system as game development. You do testing, you apply changes, you do testing, you apply changes, and it could go for eternity. Completing technical documentation required, importing automated tools, incorporating tools with human oversight. As we discussed, someone has to be responsible. But in reality, there are more responsibilities. So registration, classification, risk management, data governance. And that's just the first slide. There's also technical documentation, human oversight, accuracy, and security. So all that actually, and that's just the second slide. There's also quality management. There's declaration of conformity, and practically on every of this, you need to get sometimes, or a company, preferably law company, preferably my company, but there are other companies, but no, or separate person to do it, because it's a lot of work would be. And the bigger company, the more work it is. Marketing, incident reporting, it also has to be. But the problem at the moment that systems, European Union systems, are not yet developed to support all that what we have to do to confer to the new legislation. That basically a system which, how we would have to implement it. So basically it's a very iterative process, and every game designer knows it, because it's also looks similar how we develop games. And somewhere they're publishing, yeah. So basically we're used to something never ending, which just at a certain point we have to stop. Okay, I can't see how much time I have. It just shows me 6. How many minutes do I have? Huh? I still have 15? Oh, wonderful. So since games are not related to all the threats we're discussing, there are very few moments which we can just breeze out. There are very few moments that we have to look around. And as previous speakers started to mention, it includes a lot of IP and copyrighted and everything. Basically, AI and copyright, AI and IP, and tort law as well. For game developers, I will later discuss what that is, which is very interesting. The thing is that, okay, 15 minutes is not 20 minutes, so we'll skip theory. So avoiding IP infringement based on AI inputs and outputs. We should understand that there is infringement on input and output. That should be understandable. Infringement will be, what do you use to train your AI, and what do you get on the output? On the input, the latest all game designers know the Spell World case, when basically they've taken Pokemon and basically done a very similar structured game. And it went viral. It just broke a couple of records and so on. So that's something which still could be, and there are cases about it. And there will be court hearings, and there will be infringements and discussions, and there are ways you can do it without breaking the law, but you have to document what your input to prove that nothing was used, someone else's IP was used to create it. Also, on the exit, actually, yeah, there's a nice lawsuit when New York Times actually sued Microsoft for using their articles to teach large language models. So basically, there was no agreement of New York Times for someone to use their articles to create something, and that's commercial project developed with use of their products, which are free use, only information circulation. So that's something very interesting, that you can see that yeah, it happened in the United States, but regulation develops and it can come to any company. So unless you're thinking about doing something for a few months, some mobile games live only a few months or half a year, then you should think about long-term actions. So there are also problems. For example, if your dev AI, for example, creates a street with some advertisement of Coca-Cola. You didn't want it, but it still will be infringement. Something generated even from some other moments will be still infringement. So you should understand that not only what you use, but what comes out also should be checked by your team, people who understand more or less, maybe business developer, lawyer, company, in-house lawyer, or law firm. So everything there, if you have any doubt that there might be a problem with IP, you should check it, because it can knock down all your game. Like some companies which are smaller or they have financial problems, like some bigger companies, some as well, they can just get the share of you, request the share. And if you're doing well, okay, they will get the share of the million, of many millions, it's okay. But some of them, like Nintendo, they could care less about you. They can just want to knock you down. And a lot of companies, sometimes they want to just to make an examples. Being part of a lot of courts, problems, like court hearings about it, being part of the team, I can see that clients sometimes just wants to prove a point. He wants to make an example, and he doesn't want to even discussion. Even when you offer him something reasonable, he just, I don't care. I just want all guns out and just to destroy it. I just want, like, this person, people should see that nobody should infringe, and make it loud. So that's something which is also important to know. And so some game developers, what they do, they buy art for like couple 100,000, buy art from artists, then they use this art just to generate more art, and it saves millions. Yes, of course, because you basically generate art on art which you already own, and they have make it part of the contract that they can use what artists can actually what artists develop for them, they can use for AI model to develop more art. So that's actually reduces risks. Okay, we will have some more. So ensuring IP protection, that's something which previous speaker already mentioned, but there are ways, and there is system actually get it. There's inventorship guidance for AI-assisted inventions. It exists, you can find it, and a lot of white papers developed on that, and you can actually protect. There are guidelines. Actually, that's not only what you do after AI generated it, but it also during how you taught it. If you pass the unique process, AI basically as a tool, but everyone can make a board. Yes, but if you do a carving of a board, you manipulate this tool uniquely. So if you will be able to demonstrate that you went through unique process, which not many people can repeat, getting certain result, then you really can protect it. You just need to show that it's something not everyone can achieve just putting in, generate me like someone who looks like a Witcher, or like someone between Batman and Witcher. No, you need just to do something unique, to pass through the process, teach a certain AI model, like to teach, to get through some process with that process makes unique what you have, and that maybe will bring the art market someday also back to its original roots. Okay, beyond the idea. And you can see that also there are also like possibilities which already went farther, and US Copyright Office also thinks about it and also develops some guidelines. We're already there, and you can see how quickly it iterates. Right now, it's a big question, and in a few months, there will be even more progress with legislation. It's really hard to keep track. This is why it's better if you have something to secure yourself, just to go to a law firm and make sure that everything is okay. Let them be responsible if they give you bad advice. That's also something nice when your law firm responsible, not you. Okay. So basically, privacy law again. So of course, there is a Consumer Privacy Act, and also their Data Protection Act in United Kingdom, and they all have been foundation also for GDPR here in Europe and so on. There are a lot of sensitive, as previous speaker mentioned, sensitive data which you have to protect, and you cannot blame AI then for some problem. And also that also on inputs as well counts. You cannot input something sensitive into AI unless they give you permission, those whose information it is. And you should be ready that it may become public to some extent. Tort law, that's something which game developers often don't know. Tort is not just a cake. It's actually the right to publicly exhibit someone's uniqueness, unique identity. So basically what happens right now, as an example, that Bruce Willis right now suffers from illness and he cannot work, but his image is so popular that he can rent it out, his voice, his visuals, he can rent out different projects to still earn money with it. And that's something which you can do. But there also were different approaches. For example, if you will get someone who looks like that, and some companies actually made the name for themselves in some countries, they just invited people with the same name, for example, as some kind of star, like for example Robert Downey or Hugh Grant, for example. They invited just the people who don't look like those people, but they, for example, have the same name. Gave them a cereal. These people take cereal, and there's a video, and they're like, I approve it, and they would write Robert Downey approves of our cereal, Hugh Grant approves of our cereal, and that would be legally valuable because people with that name approved it, they signed a paper that they agree to it to be public, and that could be used, yes. The similar thing is with visuals, but still there are problems, and because actors, they work with their identity, with their image, with how they look. And because they look like that, now contracts would be probably moderated a little differently. As Keanu Reeves' case showed, well, it wasn't a big case, but when Keanu Reeves was used in Cyberpunk, and then fans created a mode where he could go and do some go into intimate relationship with different other characters of different genders. And so his managers didn't feel comfortable because as actors, they had actor contract which states could he be used his image in intimate scenes and so on, because that's as for the movie they went through. But they didn't know that the movie doesn't have mods like in game industry. Modders, they can just go and whatever gets in the game becomes like everybody's property and can get into any circumstance. This is why, and it was very nice of the company, managers just contacted and asked, could you please ask your fans, your modders, just to take it off online. But of course it didn't disappear. Whatever gets on internet stays on internet. And we got lucky that Keanu Reeves is an amazing person. But if it would be, I don't know, Elizabeth Taylor, or if it would be Barbara Streisand, that would be a different case. Well, sir, that's basically it for me. That just to show how many more steps regulation will take. That just plans for each year, like 2025. How many more regulation will be and amendments of regulation? Just so you would remember. Okay, thank you for your attention. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from the audience, right? Just a second, I'll bring the mic.
Hello, Eva, Perfection 42. Is it on the company responsibility to decide, are we creating a high-risk AI solutions or?
Yes.
Yes?
It's
until somebody else detects that some authorities detects that it's not, or?
As just when you will be using your AI model, if you use it, you will have probably some kind of certificate of compliance or something, some note about it. And people who would work with you or would see on webpage, they would request it probably. If you will cooperate with someone, they would request, because it would be a risk for them financially to cooperate with you, and suddenly everything could be stopped or frozen. So it would be up to a company, because there are so many companies, and not many, we still don't comprehend all the areas where AI could be used. because we get used to it, and yes, it would be up to people themselves.
So your answer is more likely to have some kind of certificate, like ECO, AI, something?
Well, your law firm or lawyer can just say, yes, everything is okay, like you, and will tell you what you need to do to get proper compliance, in which case, on which level. Because it depends on which level of outcome. You've seen there are a lot of levels. At the beginning, they promised like only 3 or 4, but you've seen there were 6 already. And with practice, it becomes more diverse. Lawyers basically because they have several clients which do the same, and they keep like their hand on the pulse of legislation, and they will have the latest changes to legislation. They will tell you, for example, don't have to worry about it because you use tool which is created by someone else, and his problem is to use it, and you have to request from him just compliance information about compliance, and then you can use it like yourself. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you.